Senator Paul Bussman is currently serving his second term in the Alabama Senate. He was born in New Orleans and lived there until the age of 3 when his family moved to Cullman. As someone dedicated to the betterment of Cullman County, Paul has devoted countless volunteer hours to committees and organizations that have improved the quality of life for many Cullman residents. He is past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, the Cullman Regional Medical Foundation, Cullman Kiwanis Club, and the Leadership Cullman County Class of 2000. Senator Bussman attended Troy State and the University of Alabama School of Dentistry. He's been a general dentist here in Cullman since 1983. He is also the local entrepreneur and developer of the Fun Zone. Paul and his wife Holly have been married for more than 15 years. Please welcome Paul.
Good morning, y'all. Leah was telling me that this is probably the highest attended event that they've had, and I'm trying to figure out how much money they offered y'all to show up. But I appreciate y'all being here very much. It's an honor to serve as your senator. As I've told you many times before, as I walk in the chamber door, I realize I'm representing 150,000 people. And those 150,000 people are all important. And sometimes you'll see legislation that I'll bring forward and you kind of scratch your head at why I'm doing that. But I would have a constituent somewhere in my district that deserves to be heard. And it may not pass, it may not go anywhere, but that constituent deserves to have their chance to pass what they want to pass. And so that's why I do a lot of the things I do. As many of y'all know, it's important that we do things right in the state. And we've not always done it that way. And I think we've got to start going in that direction. The sooner the better. The state is in really good shape right now. We've been very fortunate over the last couple of years. We've been able to fight the constant barrage of we got to raise taxes, we don't have any money, we got to raise taxes, we don't have any money. And we've put that off, and now the state is starting to generate a significant amount of revenue, and we're in much better shape today than we were 4 years ago or even 7 years ago. And that's a good thing. We have extra money to spend. That's a really good thing, but that also generates a tremendous problem. It's much easier, as any of y'all know that deal with budgets, it's much easier to cut a budget than it is to deal with all the people that want the money when there's extra. And right now what I'm seeing is glazed over eyes that say we got more money than we've had before. How are we going to get our hands on it? And that's something we're going to have to be very careful as we deal with that money to make sure we're prioritizing that money and not just splitting it up and saying, okay, that's the best we can do. One of the situations that we've got right now is in higher education, where we just did a 4%. Everybody gets 4% more. And to me, that's a horrible way of budgeting. I know for a fact that if I'm in the top category of the money getters, and I will say UAB is the top category of money getters, I'm going to take 4% if University of Montevallo is down at the bottom and they're only going to get 4%. Because if you do the math on that, UAB is going to get a whole lot more money than Montevallo is at a 4%. Same thing goes with our community college system. We have a tremendous lobby for higher education in Alabama. Each of the universities probably has 3 or 4 paid lobbyists that come to us every day and want something for higher education. We don't have that kind of support in K-12. We don't have that kind of support in community college. Okay, they just don't have the money to hire those kind of people. We spend money in K-12 in the classrooms. Higher education has a better opportunity to hire lobbyists. And that's going to be a tremendous fight over the next couple of years as money starts coming in, to make sure that we're providing enough money for K-12 and the community college system. I think UAB got $11 million in additional funding coming this year at 4%. Somebody like Wallace State Community College got $750,000. And so you can see the discrepancy in where that can go. And if you keep doing just 4%, 4%, 4%, pretty soon UAB is going to have a whole lot of money, and the rest of them are going to be still down there, trying to sweep up the crumbs. And that's a concern. We've got several things that are going on right now, and they've touched on some of these. The State Board of Education is in chaos. I can just tell you that we heard the budget request from them this last week, and I honestly, at the end of that, I looked at Mr. Richardson, who is the interim superintendent now, and I told him, I said, I have no confidence in the State Board of Education. I have no reason to have any confidence in the State Board of Education. They hired Mr. Sentence, and then they threw him under the bus. They acted like it wasn't their choice. They spent a whole lot of money getting things done over there, and then they said, well, that was the wrong way to go. Let's go another direction. Everything that's in the State Board of Education lies solely in the hands of our elected school board. And we've got to fix that problem. There's a couple of bills coming up this session that will deal with the state board. My goal is to reduce their revenue and pass that money down to the local systems. I just cannot see us continuing to throw bucket loads of money at the State Board of Education, and in my opinion, they're totally incompetent. What they do is on every program they have, they take a cut for administration. They can go anywhere from 3% to 15% on administrative costs. That's ridiculous, y'all. I mean, I'll manage it for 4%, and just you go across the board, and anybody that's got any business sense would manage it for 4% and make a killing. But they seem to have, sometimes 10, 15%, which is wrong. And so we're looking at that very closely to try to figure out how to adjust that to get more money into the local schools and get these programs that are supposed to be working, get them working. The Alabama Reading Initiative, as you know, a couple years ago, news was all over how great Alabama was doing in reading. And then the state school board got a hold of the Alabama Reading Initiative, and their bureaucracy ate it up. And now we're back where we were basically a couple years ago. So we're going to try to re-encourage them to get that program going again. If a child is not reading to level at grade 3, we've got problems. And I can tell you right now, it's not the school system's problem, it's other problems. We've got mental health issues across the state that have got to be dealt with. We have kids coming to school that are dangerous. We have kids coming to school that haven't been fed. We've got kids coming to school that haven't had a parent had any concern for them in months. You've got kids coming to school that their parents have been on drugs. We got problems, and we got to fix those problems, and we got to attack those problems, and we got to deal with those problems. We can't just keep shoving them under the rug and saying the teachers are going to handle it, or the hospital is going to handle it, or the police department is going to handle it. Mental health has got to be a priority in this state, and it's got to be a priority soon. A lot of the problems we have in prisons go back to mental health. A lot of the problems we have in the area around here with people doing stuff that is just not normal, it's mental health, and we've got to get that fixed. And so those are some of the things that we've got to do. I see a tremendous benefit to where the state is right now, but we have got to prioritize that money and got to make sure we're putting that money in the right place and not just continuing programs that are non-functional or that have been a bad idea from the start. And so that's where I'm going to be attacking this session. The local things that are going on, as Representative Harbison said, to me the jail issue and the food issue is a county commission sheriff decision, because both of those parties are going to be involved in that decision, and then whatever they decide, I think will be acceptable to us if they can come to an agreement on that. As far as the gas tax, I don't have any problem letting the citizens of Cullman vote on a gas tax. Do you want to spend money on your roads or you don't? That's the way it is, and you have the right to tell us whether you're going to want to do that or not. If you say no, then okay, the roads are going to stay basically the same. If you say yes, okay, then we're going to have a tremendous amount of money at 4 cents a gallon to do some improvements in the roads. But that's y'all's choice, and that's the way it ought to be. You ought to have the choice to make on those issues. As far as the statewide gas tax, until they stop putting concrete barriers in the middle of roads and blowing money like it's crazy, I'm not supporting I'm not supporting any gas tax for the state until they figure out what the heck they're doing. And I'm sorry, y'all, that still is I was in Albertville yesterday, and they've done the same thing in Albertville. Albertville looks like Orange Beach with the U-turns. And I can't get to Jack's like I want to get to Jack's, and it just really irritates me. But those are the things that I see. You know, we've got a tremendous amount of money going to Malfunction Junction, and we've got to figure out how to spread that out a little bit. Malfunction Junction started at the 22 interchange, 7 years ago, and now we're just moving south. And at some point we've got to leverage out the fairness to make sure that everybody's roads are getting done, and that's just one of those things. I would be glad to, with the delegation, I can tell you we have a really good delegation. And as Representative Harbinson said, we don't always agree, and that's a good thing. I mean, I personally think that when everybody agrees, that's a bad thing. If nobody has a difference of opinion, then that's going to be a problem. And so when we get in the Senate, if somebody has a disagreement, that's a good thing. And you hear, well, somebody's not getting along. Well, everybody's getting along as long as you're doing it in a professional manner. And I think we do that very well here. And I'm proud to serve with these two guys. They're good guys to serve with, and I think they honestly look out for the citizens of Cullman, and they want to do the best they can for y'all. And so it's an honor to serve with them. But I think we'd be glad to answer any questions if we've got time for questions. Anybody got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, since you brought it up, it's our understanding that the guy that's responsible for that is one guy, and he's over Aldott, and nobody can touch him. And we've talked about this in some of our meetings and stuff, and you know, it's up to the governor to replace him or to do something different. Can't the legislators do something about this, protest or do something?
We have absolutely zero control over Aldott. And the problem is we have no control over the finances that go into Aldott. All the money goes directly to Aldott without passing through the legislature at all. There is a bill this year that I'm co-sponsoring with Senator Albritton that would transfer that responsibility back to the legislature. The legislature would at least have some control over where money's being spent, as opposed to what's going on right now.
Well, what's your recommendation as a citizen of Cullman County? What should we do to protest this? I mean, can we go to the governor about this? Can we, send some information to her and say, look, this has got to change? Would that help this bill, or should we just wait for this bill to try to be passed?
I think the problem that we've got in the state of Alabama right now is Aldott has a access manual that they are going by exclusively. It doesn't matter whether you're a big city, small city, or what. Their commitment is on the access manual. And every city falls in the same category and is done the same. And that's to me is about as dumb as saying every school is the same across the state of Alabama. They're just not the same. You can't treat urban Birmingham like you do Cullman County. They don't match. And so to come in and just say, this is what we're going to do to every road, doesn't make sense to me. And so I've had my discussions with the governor. I had a discussion with the governor and Aldott in the same room. So when I get mad at somebody and I tell somebody I don't like what they're doing, I don't like them not to be in the room. And they were in the room. Governor Ivey told them to stop the project for a while and until things could be talked about, and that's what we did. But in the long run, Aldott has full control over it. Yes, sir.
Would you address the retiree pay raise?
Yes, sir. I think this year you'll see a pay raise for the teachers. You'll see a pay raise for the state employees. Mr. Walker, I don't think you're going to see another pay raise for the retired teachers. You may see a 13th check, but I don't think you'll see a pay raise. And the reason I think that and I say that is because in the years past where they have passed a COLA for retired teachers or retired state personnel, there was no coverage for the pension program. And what that did, that put our pension program in a unfunded liability situation that we're still trying to dig our way out of. Right now, as you may or may not know, out of your state budget every year, we pay $1 billion into the pension program with a B. And of that, $700 million is paying for an unfunded liability that in past years they've passed COLAs and they've passed things like that now they're having to pay for to keep that fund going. And we will always, as a legislature, in my opinion, will always fund what the actuary asks us to. But I think what you're going to see as far as the retirees will be 13th checks on a varying schedule. Yes, sir.
I personally am in favor of an increase in the gas tax to improve the roads in this county, but there are people in this county who cannot afford to buy gasoline now. Is there some way that the county can, based upon their federal income tax, or state income tax, perhaps, and reimburse those people to some degree for the additional cost of a gas tax increase?
I would probably, not to be cold and not to be, I would probably say no. I would probably, probably the argument would be if somebody's using the roads on a regular basis, they're gonna end up paying more of that percentage. If you're not on the roads very much, you're not gonna pay hardly any of that percentage. But you will not find, very few government agencies are going to be willing to give money back or to give a tax credit. I mean, when we try to pass a tax credit for a lot of things, we've got a tax credit right now that we've got a bill for. As many of you know, if our students go to UAH, for example, and go to school, the first year they're required to stay in housing at UAH. Okay? We've got hundreds of people that drive to Huntsville every day to go to work. And my concern was, why are the people of Cullman County having to pay to live in dormitories when they could drive? And what's happened, the schools that built these dormitories, and they have to keep them full. And so what we're trying to do this year is to give the people of Cullman County that have kids in those schools where there's a requirement to live in the dorms, to give them a tax credit. And you'd think I had 17 heads or something like that. So we're going to push it. We're going to see if we can get it done. But the state doesn't like to give a whole lot of tax credits unless there are significant jobs included on that. Anybody else? Well, I just want to again say that it's an honor for me to serve. We have a bright future in Alabama if we can get it together. We know what the problems are. You know what the problems are. We know what the solutions are. We just got to have the public will and the political will to make those decisions and be willing to take the heat when you make the decisions that are going to make Alabama a better place. So, thank you very much.